What is going on, guys? Pitcher here, and the Russian Grand Prix has just finished, and today I am going to recap the race, review and discuss it, and share my opinions on everything that happened during it. So a quick spoiler alert, I am going to talk about what happened during the race and the final results, of course. So if you don't want to know that, click off this video right now, and if you do enjoy, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. So let's get into it. So Lewis Hamilton has won the race. What a surprise, another Mercedes victory. But it's actually not from his teammate. Sebastian Vettel has actually finished second. And the biggest surprise of the weekend is actually Sergio Perez in third, the final spot on the podium. Nobody really saw that coming, but an incredible strategy call from Sergio and the team is just put him up into a brilliant position for them. And it's really nice to see him doing really well again. He really deserves it, in my opinion. One of my favourite drivers, to be honest. In fourth place, you got Felipe Massa. Then behind him, you have Kimi Raikkonen, but I do not know at present if he has received a time penalty or whatnot from that Bottas incident, as it is still being reviewed as I'm recording this. If something has happened after recording this while I'm editing it, it will be on screen right now. But as of now, he still holds the 5th place after that incident, which was obviously his fault. Then in 6th place we have Daniel Kvyat, then Felipe Nasr from Sauber in 7th, then we've got Pastor Maldonado actually finishing in the points in 8th place. Then we actually have the two McLarens with the double points finish. We've got Jenson Button in 9th and Fernando Alonso in 10th, scoring a total of 3 points for McLaren. Nobody saw that coming, that's for sure. And then in 11th we've got Max Verstappen, then Valtteri Bottas, who did not finish but is still classified, as he got to the final lap until he got taken out by Raikkonen. Then we actually have Roberto Merri beating Will Stevens, interestingly. Then Will Stevens and Ricciardo, who finished about 6 laps before the finish. He came off with, I think it was a suspension failure, I believe. And then the retirees of the race, Carlos Sainz, Romain Grosjean, who had that insanely big crash. Nico Rosberg, who of course had the sticky throttle issue. Then Hülkenberg and Ayrton, who got tangled at the start. And now if we look at the championship, Lewis Hamilton is just pulling away further. He's now up onto 302 points, and the next closest person is actually now Sebastian Vettel, who has actually jumped Nico Rosberg. That's the big thing that's happened this week. 236 points, and then only, 7 points back to Rosberg on 229. Now, I actually haven't checked if they've won the Constructors. I believe they are like a point away from winning it, or they have won it. But I actually think it depends on if Raikkonen keeps his position or not, if they win the championship, the Constructors Championship. But I am actually not sure at the moment. Anyway, let's go into what happened during the race. So there was a Hülkenberg-Ericsson crash right at the very start of the race, going into turn 1. From what I saw, it just looks like Hülkenberg got out a little bit wide on the, well, it was actually technically turn 2, and just got his got onto the AstroTurf, and that just sort of spun him around, a bit like an auto spin curve almost. And he just picked up the throttle a bit too much on the AstroTurf, spun him around, and actually collected Verstappen and Ericsson in the process, taking Ericsson out of the race, unfortunately for him. Nothing to do with Ericsson, just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Same with Verstappen, who got spun into the wall, I believe, and punctured his tyre, but did keep going and managed to pit under the safety car and get back to the back of the field, I believe, which was lucky for him. And in the chaos of all that, while those yellow flags, Lewis ran very, very wide. I'm not sure if anyone actually noticed that, but he actually ran off the track through turn 3 on that first lap, which was, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, Rosberg stopped for the safety car, and Lewis almost took him out from behind. I don't know, it was a bit dodgy what was happening there, but everything settled down for the safety car. And then after the safety car, during that safety car period, I believe that Rosberg first noticed his sticky throttle issue. So from what I understand is it was just sticking a bit, so whenever he lifted off, the pedal just wouldn't lift off with his foot. It sort of just got stuck down a bit, and therefore it would have effects on the braking, because the throttle would still be partially on while he's trying to slow down the car, where it would normally be fully off, and it has effects on the braking and making it harder for him to stop. And then that issue just got worse and worse and worse until it got to a point where he could not continue in the race anymore, because the throttle was so far on under braking that the car would not stop, and he just had to retire. He had no choice. The car was pretty much undrivable. He could not slow it down and had to retire. Unfortunately, it was really annoying to see him come out of the race, because he had a serious chance of winning, to be honest. I think he had Hamilton's number all weekend. he just seemed to be a little bit quicker, and I think he could have gone on to win the race and close down the championship a little bit. It was really unlucky for Nico, but he's completely out of the championship now, I think. Now, especially considering Sebastian Vettel's got in front of him, which is a big surprise. Nobody saw that coming at the start of the season. But that is a big shame for Nico, and for most people, in my opinion, it's a big shame to see him out of the championship battle, pretty much because of that result. And it was really sad to see him out of the race because we didn't have a battle for the lead because of it. But right after the safety car went in, I'm not sure, it was a few laps later, Grosjean, round turn 3, got into, I think it was Button's dirty air, and he just lost the back. The back went, and then he tried to correct it, then all of a sudden the front's gripped and he was off in the wall, and that was a huge crash. That was insanely big. Oh, it was amazing to see him get out of the car okay, which, thank God he was okay. Really unlucky, but it just goes back to the whole issue in these sort of cars, especially Formula 1 and IndyCar, this whole dirty air thing. It brings that back into discussion, and that was really the sole cause of that crash for Grosjean. He just got in the dirty air and unsettled the car and lost control pretty much, which was really unfortunate for Grosjean, who was actually doing alright up until that point. He wasn't the best, he was going alright. Thank God he's okay, that's all I have to say. Thank God he is okay. Now, next thing is Sainz got a penalty. I think it was because Grosjean's crash was absolutely huge. There was just discussion about actually red flagging the race. It was that big. But they called in a safety car, and apparently Sainz sort of was going into the pits and then decided not to and actually crossed the white entry line, and Button called it up on the radio, and it was apparently, I never actually got to see it, the FOM never put it on the TV, but apparently it was blatantly obvious, and of course, bang, 5 second penalty, just added to the time, or the next penalty, 5 seconds before they could work on the car, which is unfortunate for him. Of course, after his huge FP3 crash, he was doing really, really well up until that point, really fighting back through the field, even with the penalty. It was doing really, really well, and he was contender for driver of the day up until this point. And then his brakes failed. You would have seen it on the TV. You could see the disc going bright red and stuff. It looked like it was braking, and he couldn't stop the car. Brakes started to lock a bit, and then you saw it just spinning backwards into the wall, and it broke his front wing. And then you saw that the marshal run across the track, and then Vettel's like, "We've got a very brave Russian on the track," or something. I don't know, because one whole side of his rear wing that holds up the top bit came off because he damaged the rear wing, and then he pulled up to the side and retired from the race because he had broken his rear wing, which was really unlucky for Sainz, who was actually driving an amazing race considering what had happened the previous day on Saturday in FP3, and actually being airlifted to hospital and all that to be back doing so well. He was running up in like 7th or something before the issue, which was really unfortunate for him. The next one is Ricciardo's suspension failure. That was a little bit later. It was towards the end of the race, about 6 laps from the finish. Yeah, 6 laps from the finish, or 7 laps from the 5 or 6 from the finish, I should say. His suspension just I think it was the front left, just went. It was coming through about turn 4 or 5 for some reason. I don't know. From what I understand, there's no reason behind it. Just broke. He couldn't do anything about it. Just had to pull off to the side. He had no choice. The car was undrivable after that. He just couldn't steer. It was really unfortunate for him. He was driving quite well up until that point. I think he was in 6th place at the time, just behind the Bottas and Raikkonen, the two Finns. Really unfortunate for Daniel Ricciardo. He was on for a good point scoring position there. Really unfortunate to see that, and it's suspicious why his suspension failed. I have not heard why to this point, but very, very weird. And then you got the battle of the Finns went all race. Raikkonen and Bottas, they were having some killer battles, some really good moves early in the race, and then it all came down to the final lap. I think Raikkonen got a radio message, all or nothing, and he went all in and just T-boned Bottas pretty much at turn 4. Nothing else to say. Very late move, pretty much tried to aim for the apex of the corner. He just went straight line to the apex, and Bottas was already there, just T-boned him, taking Bottas out of the race. It was completely Raikkonen's fault, damaged his floor, and actually allowed Massa to catch and pass him on that final lap. But as I said, I have not heard at this moment if he has got a penalty yet. Kimi Raikkonen, if I can just quickly check, shouldn't take me a second. But I don't believe he has a penalty, but I can easily see one coming. It's just a matter if it's a time penalty for this race or a grid penalty for the next race. Doesn't look like I am seeing anything at the moment. No, I don't see anything at the moment about a penalty for him. But if, again, when I'm editing this, if I do hear anything, I will put it on the screen. But at this time, there is nothing. But it was blatantly Raikkonen's fault. Bottas did nothing wrong and was clearly upset on the radio. And he was on for a brilliant podium position in the end. But Perez, that allowed Perez to come through and snatch that podium, which is unbelievable. Amazing strategy call from the Force India team and him. An amazing tyre management from Checo throughout the race. Something he is, of course, known for, his ability to save tyres, and that is just proven in today's race with a brilliant podium from Checo. I think he pitted under the second safety car, which was during caused by Grosjean's crash. So that was very early in the race. It was lap 20 or something, very early, or 15. I can't remember. I don't know the lap numbers, but very early in the race, and he took a right all the way to the end and was rewarded with a bold call with a podium finish. And I was so happy to see him there, especially considering I'm a McLaren fan. He's an ex-McLaren driver. Really awesome to see. He's very much deserved, in my opinion, and it'd be awesome to see him do something like that in Mexico again, coming up as his home Grand Prix. But a brilliant drive from Sergio Perez. And McLaren, double points finish. That's right, get in there. Double points finish. That is what I'm talking about. Jenson with 2 points, Fernando with 1. And I didn't hear what Fernando said, but he did say something on the radio. I wasn't paying attention at the time. Another little go at Honda and the engine. I honestly don't know what he said at the time, unfortunately, but he had a go at Honda again, which was quite funny. And it said something about enjoy it. Well, his race engineer said something about enjoy it or something, because he was battling with someone coming up behind him, and they just went straight past. But overall, a very good race for McLaren. Honda, considering how terrible they are, actually getting a double points finish, which is actually really good for them, and it's good to see them back in the points. Hopefully it's the start of something, but the amount of DNFs thinks it wasn't exactly because their car was good, it was more because everyone else crashed and they didn't. But anyway, driver of the day for me would have to be Sergio Perez. An amazing drive, amazing strategy call, and just amazing ability to keep the tyres, save those tyres all the way to the end. Drove very well, and a very well-deserved podium. Unbelievable drive from Sergio Perez. And now, it's not F1 related, but also this weekend, Stoffel Vandoorne has won the GP2 Championship with about 4 races to go, which is really cool. I'm a Vandoorne fan because he's part of the McLaren Young Driver program, so that's really awesome to see. But that means he cannot race GP2 next year, which means I don't know what he's going to be doing next year, because I don't see him getting a drive in F1 just because the way the driver market is at the moment, which is a bit sad. And he's going to go sort of join Kevin Magnussen as 2 brilliant talents coming up through the McLaren system but cannot get a drive, which is very frustrating. McLaren have got 4 brilliant drivers for 2 seats, and this is sort of makes me want McLaren to buy a second team. Like Red Bull have got Toro Rosso, I want McLaren to have something like that, just because you're wasting years on these guys' careers, both Magnussen and Vandoorne. But anyway, that is off topic. Now, what I have been sort of dreading this part of the episode, how I did on my predictions. Okay, so I predicted Nico Rosberg to win the race, and he DNF'd. I predicted Lewis Hamilton in second place, he won the race. Predicted Vettel in third, he was in second. In fourth, I predicted Bottas, who was actually down in 12th place in the end. And in 5th place, I predicted Kimi Raikkonen, who is 5th place as of time of recording this. So I've got 1 right so far, but that could still be taken away from me. Oh no. And in 6th place, I got Hulkenberg, who DNF'd. 7th, Romain Grosjean, who DNF'd. 8th, Perez, who got 3rd. In 9th, I got Massa, who ended up 4th. In 10th, I put down Verstappen, who's actually 11th, so that was very close. 11th, I have Ricciardo, who's actually 15th in a DNF, technically, but got classified. 12th, I put Kvyat, who is actually 6th. It's a long way up compared to my prediction. 13th, I got Carlos Sainz, who retired. 14th, I got Button, who's 9th. 15th, I got Nasser, who's 7th. In 16th, I got Ericsson, who retired. In 17th, I got Alonso, who's 10th. In 18th, I got Stevens, who's actually 14th. And in 19th, I got Mary, who is 13th. And then I got Pastor Maldonado as a DNF, who finished 8th. So I've got one prediction right, and that could still be taken away from me. Great. I'm not very good at this prediction thing. Hopefully I can do a little better next time out in, I think it's US Grand Prix at Coda, which should be a good race. I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's good. Personally, I actually was surprised with how good Sochi turned out. It actually turned out to be a really good race. A lot of stuff happening. It was getting a bit slow in the middle part of the race, but it really picked up at the end and at the start. So I personally thought it was a very good race, considering it was a race that didn't expect anything out. So we're hoping next time out in Coda, in Texas, it can be a better race. I'm hoping for a decent race, and I'm hoping it will exceed my expectations like Sochi did. But Sochi, really good race. Hamilton won from Vettel and Sergio Perez, which is my driver of the day, Sergio Perez. And overall, a very surprisingly good race for Sochi. But that's about it for today. I hope you have enjoyed this review video of the race. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.